Hi there, Jeffrey Rhoades from Experimental Homesteader, Exotic Gardening, and Sheri Ann Richerson.com. It's that time. I think today I'm going to switch things up, and we're going to talk a little bit about the New Mexico campaign in the American Civil War, because the culmination of the campaign was on March 28th, 1862. Basically, the campaign was a plan by Confederate General Henry Hopkins Sibley. He was going to march his Confederate army into New Mexico, up along the Rio Grande to Santa Fe. From Santa Fe, he was going to go on up into Colorado and go to Denver. He was going to capture the gold mines of Colorado for use by the Confederacy. Ultimately, he was then going to march to California and take California and basically all of the West for the Confederacy. He had already had one victory, if you want to call it a victory, at Valverde. He had fought a battle at Valverde, at least his troops did. He had excused himself from the battlefield. He was not feeling well, and let his second-in-command take over. They were victorious on the field, but the Union forces had retreated back into a fort that they were unable to besiege, and they had lost most of their supplies during the battle. So while it was a technical victory, they pretty much got, defeated because they lost most of their supplies. But they won the field. They marched on up to Albuquerque. Unfortunately for them, Colonel Canby, who was in charge of the Union forces, had sent personnel to Albuquerque to set fire to the supply depot in Albuquerque. So by the time the Confederates actually got to Albuquerque, the supplies were in flames. So they did not get to resupply. Eventually they headed on up to Santa Fe. They took Santa Fe. They then proceeded towards Glorietta Pass on their way towards Colorado. They got to outside, basically near Glorietta Pass, and on March 28th they fought a battle against Union forces at Glorietta. Now, the Union forces at Glorietta were comprised in large part of Colorado miners who were looking for a fight. There was also Union troops out of Fort Union. And once again, the battle progressed. The Union forces had to retreat from the field. Confederates basically won the field once again. But during the battle, Major Chivington of the Union forces took a group of soldiers and went up over one of the nearby mesas and came in behind the Confederate forces and attacked their supply train once again and destroyed nearly all of the supplies. So while once again the Confederates won the battlefield, They lost the campaign because at this point they were down to quarter rations. They pretty much had no food to eat. And so the decision was made to retreat back to Texas. During the retreat, lots of the Confederate soldiers deserted. The Union forces shadowed them as they retreated. Did a little bit of harassment, but not much, because they didn't really need to. They didn't have to harass the Confederates. They were being harassed by the local Apache tribes. So the soldiers who did survive and get back to Texas numbered about 1,000 men. When they had started from Texas, there were about 3,000 men. About another 500 straggled in later. So about half the force was either killed or wounded or deserted. So only about half of them made it back to Texas. And to me, the New Mexico campaign, which basically was just two battles. It was the Battle of Val Verde Ford and the Battle of Glorietta Pass. To me, those are the westernmost battles. If people ask this question all the time, what was the westernmost battle of the Civil War? Most historians, most reference works are going to cite Pachaco Pass as the westernmost battle. This was in Arizona, what is today Arizona, because at the time the New Mexico Territory comprised everything that includes New Mexico and Arizona today. At the start of the Civil War, the Confederacy had taken the southern section of the New Mexico Territory and renamed it Arizona. So Arizona stretched from the Texas border over to California, but in the southern, third of what was originally the New Mexico Territory. But modern Arizona is where Pachaco Pass is located. And a lot of people say that that's the westernmost battle. The problem I have with it is, it wasn't really a battle to me. It was a skirmish. We're talking 20 to 30 men on a side. Okay, to me, that's too small to really count as a battle. For me, Val Verde would be the westernmost, because Glorietta was a little bit east of Val Verde. And Val Verde comprised 3,000 men on each side. So that's a fairly major battle. So I call it the westernmost battle. Others don't. But to me, that's the way it should be. That's how I qualify it too. Pachaco Pass was a skirmish. Val Verde was an actual battle. So, anyways, enough with the history lesson. So give us thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, comments below. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening.